I never imagined I'd end up fighting a battle over something as simple as a mountain. Yet here I was standing on the land I'd spent years working for, facing an enemy I never saw coming. My name's Ethan Barlow, and when I bought this 760-acre slice of heaven, I thought I was buying peace. No neighbors, no noise, just miles of rock pine trees, snowmelt, and wildlife. I thought I'd finally found my sanctuary. But little did I know that peace would soon be shattered by a letter, and then a whole lot more. It started out simple enough. North Hollow Acres wasn't just a farm to me. It was my claim on this earth. I earned every square inch. After 22 years of flying helicopters and dragging survey equipment through some of the harshest terrain the military could throw at me, this place was mine. This was my line in the dirt. So I built a gate. Nothing fancy, just a solid iron one with a keypad and steel posts sunk into bedrock. No HOA, no unwanted guests, no random mushroom pickers or tourists thinking they could take a detour in their Subarus. Just me, my 2 border collies, and the silence of the mountains. I had just put up that gate when the letter came. It was a Sunday morning and I found it stuck in my mailbox, shoved into a manila folder with no postage, just the name of the HOA at the top. Timberline Vista Community Association. They were requesting access to my property. Their exact words, "Please provide 3 full sets of keys and slash or gate codes for ongoing use." And just like that, they wanted access to my land, my private land. I couldn't believe it. I laughed it off at first, but when I saw the signature Karen Bradmont, president of the Timberline Vista Community Association, I knew this wasn't a joke. I couldn't just ignore it, so I drafted a response. I wasn't rude, but I wasn't backing down. I told them in no uncertain terms that North Hollow Acres was private property outside the jurisdiction of their HOA. I made it clear that no keys would be provided, and that any unauthorized access would be considered trespassing under Colorado law. That should have been the end of it, right? Wrong. The very next morning I got a knock on the door, and there she was. Karen Bradmont in her late 50s, looking like she'd just walked off the cover of a luxury lifestyle magazine. Hiking boots that had never seen mud, a clipper attached to her hand like it was surgically fused to her arm. "You're Mr. Barlow?" she asked. "Barlow," I corrected her. "You the one who wrote that nonsense?" I couldn't help myself. She didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled like I'd handed her a puppy. "We just want a collaborative relationship with neighbors who share the visual and ecological interface." I blinked. "Visual interface? I mean, seriously? You mean the fact that you can see my fence from your master suite?" I said. She smiled again. "Exactly." At that moment, I knew this wasn't just about a view. She wasn't just a nosy neighbor. Karen had an agenda, and I wasn't going to let her or her HOA take what was mine. I thought maybe she'd back off when I made it clear my land was off limits, but no. 3 days later, I found myself staring at the security footage on my phone. There they were, 3 adults crammed onto an ATV, bumping up my gravel road, heading straight for my gate. They rolled right up to it and started messing with my keypad like they owned the place. I was furious. I jumped on the speaker system and told them they were on private property and needed to leave immediately. One of them, the guy in the Timberline polo, shouted, "This is common access. Karen says this trail runs through HOA land." I smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "Well, Karen's wrong," I said, "and you're being recorded. Sheriff's on the way. You've got 10 minutes to make better choices." I called the sheriff's non-emergency line, and by the time I got to the gate, the deputies were already pulling up. They issued trespass warnings to all 3 of them. Karen didn't show up, but I knew this wouldn't be over. Not with someone like her. Sure enough, 2 days later, I was served with papers. Karen was taking me to court. The Timberline Vista Community Association was filing for emergency access to my property, claiming there was a boundary dispute. They even had a map, one that looked like it had been drawn by a kindergartner. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was completely fabricated. I wasn't about to let this stand. I called in a favor from an old colleague, Vince, a cadastral engineer. Vince confirmed that the map was a forgery. The boundary markers I had were official, backed by federal surveys. We were ready to fight. I filed a motion to dismiss, and just as I suspected, Karen doubled down. But this time, she made a big mistake. She tried to sabotage my security gate in the dead of night using a demolition hammer. Of course, the cameras caught everything, and the sheriff's deputies showed up to arrest her for property destruction and trespassing. It was the moment I'd been waiting for, seeing Karen being walked away in handcuffs, her hammer dangling in an evidence bag. But the real victory came when I got a letter from the Timberline Vista HOA. They were apologizing for Karen's actions. And they were paying me. Not just a small sum, $110,000 for damages and legal fees. I used that money to reinforce my gate, add more security, and build a wall to mark my property's southern boundary. Karen's arrest had shaken the HOA to its core. The community started to turn on her, and by the time the court date for her fraud case came around, she was looking at a long list of charges: property destruction, trespassing, falsifying documents. Her attorney's attempts to defend her fell apart when Vince's footage was played in court, showing Karen attacking my gate like a madwoman. The jury didn't take long to deliberate. Karen was found guilty on 5 counts, including 2 felonies. She was sentenced to county jail, and her reign over the HOA was officially over. The community, meanwhile, was left to pick up the pieces. Many residents voted to dissolve the HOA, completely realizing that it was a system built on lies and manipulation. As for me, I still walk my property every spring, just like I did back when I worked for the feds. Only now I walk it as a man who knows what it means to protect what's mine, with patience, perseverance, and the law on my side. In the end, the lesson is clear sometimes. Standing your ground isn't about being right, it's about being unyielding. You don't let people push you around just because they think they have the power. Because power doesn't belong to those who act entitled, it belongs to those who stand firm and fight for what's theirs. And as for Karen, well, let's just say she learned the hard way that no amount of power or influence can take away someone's right to their land. So what do you think? Do you believe Karen got what she deserved, or should the HOA have been more flexible in its approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.